Hey, everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the Tuesday edition of Today in Sports Betting. And today we're going to have a very special guest on. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. We're going to talk a little Bundesliga, a little German soccer, and very excited about that. Let's bring on my co-host. First of all, you know him, you love him from the great state of New York, living out there on Long Island. He is Scott Reichel. Scott, happy Tuesday, bud. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Looking forward to talking about some soccer. I know that we haven't exactly talked about it much in the show's past. I've given out a play or two on Bundesliga here, and so far it's gone decently. So yeah, looking forward to bringing on an expert here to maybe.
I've been dragged kicking and screaming into the 21st century, where soccer is a big, huge game worldwide. I admit I'm behind the curve on soccer, so I'm going to pay attention and hopefully learn a lot today from you guys, from you and from our very special guest coming all the way from Mallorca, Spain. Mallorca, Spain. He's excited. They just opened the beaches, and he is one of our premier soccer writers over there at Winners and Winers. We're happy to have him. It is Valdis Pans. Valdis, how are you, sir? Happy Tuesday evening over there for you.
Happy Tuesday. Everything's good. The sun is out, and well, I'm happy to be and finally join you guys here on your cast.
It is good to have you, and I got to tell you, Valdis and I are Facebook friends, and I live vicariously through his pictures. He travels all over Europe, and seems to go to a lot of beaches. A lot of places that you go seem to be the beach, Valdis.
Yeah, guilty as charged.
So this guy,
correct.
he's either at the beach or he's having brunch with the beautiful people over there. So
all I'm gonna say, Scott, is that you sound a little bit jealous. That's all I'm saying.
It's coming through then, because I'm a lot jealous, man. Brunching and beach, that's two of my favorite B words in the entire world. So
yeah,
it's good to. Hey, thanks for and beer. So thanks for taking a break from the triple Bs to talk to us a little bit about soccer. As we're going to talk about one more B, and it's the Bundesliga.
The Bundesliga.
So we've got a game tomorrow night here on. We've got a game Wednesday night, and am I wrong not to be too excited about this? And I'm going to butcher some pronunciations today. I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, I'm going to absolutely tear these up. We're going to start with Werder Bremen and Eintracht Frankfurt.
You're a natural. You're a natural. Look at that.
I've been doing it all my life. Now Bremen is a team that is trying to fight off relegation, Valdis, and
heavily.
What's that?
Trying to do that heavily, and basically this season has been probably the worst Werder Bremen have had, in years for sure. But given that the team has been eliminated just once in its history from Bundesliga. This is a major thing. The team must remain in Bundesliga. That's what it wants. But how it's going to pan out, we don't know. The last few games, though, have been encouraging. There's been 2 wins and a draw in the last few games.
So, Valdis, let me start with the basics. I know these teams have all played around 29 or 30 games. How many games do they have left? How imminent is relegation here? How desperate are these guys getting?
Well, Bremen and Frankfurt basically will be playing a game that was postponed earlier on match week 24. So they have 1 game extra. So this is the game they're going to play out. After that, all of the teams will have 5 games left.
Okay.
Having said that, every point counts at the moment, and for Bremen especially, if they want to squeeze out of that elimination position, which is pretty much they are sitting second from bottom at the moment. They need to win, and they need to start with the game against Frankfurt tomorrow. So
all right, so tell us your opinion of how this one breaks down. Now the odds on this one. The odds makers basically have Frankfurt as a small favorite. There's no goals, so they have it as a pick 'em, and you got to put a little extra juice on Frankfurt there at minus 119, while Bremen will get you minus 101 for them to pick up the win.
Yeah.
Money line, Bremen plus 175. So where's the value at in this game, buddy?
Well, Werder Bremen to win plus 175 is a good bet on this one. Bremen are in a good run of results at the moment. And in my opinion, that's the bet to go for. Especially the team will be very motivated to. It has 2 games this week, so starting with this game, if they get all 3 points by winning the following game against Wolfsburg, Bremen can actually squeeze out of the bottom 3. So that's the plan.
Okay.
So I would back Bremen for sure for a win in this one. The motivation is going to be high. The team hasn't scored that many goals lately, but quite enough to get 7 points out of possible 9 in the last 3 games. We will see what's going to happen. But Leonardo Bittencourt, who scored both goals in the last 2 victories that the team had, was injured. Supposedly, he's still doubtful for the following fixture. We will see if he is able to start. But I would actually follow all the team news at the very last minute, because him to also bet on him as an anytime scorer would be probably a good idea.
And is he Bremen's best player?
He might not be the best. He is definitely the best player that's been playing in the last few match days. And for him to score any time is a really the odds are +310. Really, really good ones. So for him to score any time, if he plays, I would go for that.
Okay, very good. All right, and let's just cover one of the basic things that's different about betting in football or soccer, if you will, here in America. Now, if Bremen, you bet +175. Now, obviously, if they win the game outright, 2-1 or whatever, they win +175. You're good to go. Yeah. But if it's a draw, you lose your bet. Is that correct? If you bet a 3-way like that?
You lose your bet. You can always bet a double chance for the team to either win or to have the draw. In this case, it's kind of you wouldn't go for a team for a double chance that you would be more sure that they're gonna squeeze out a victory, because the odds gonna be way less, and it's not really the best thing to do. It's
right.
It's either you go for a win or you go for a draw. I wouldn't go double chance on this one. I would go if the team had much higher odds of losing, and if the draw are like almost the same, you would have better odds on a double chance for a team that's not a favorite at all.
Right, I got you. I was gonna have Scott jump in here. Scott, what's your feelings on this game tomorrow night with relegation closing in on Bremen? How do you feel about this one?
Well, first of all, just to touch upon something that you just asked, Scott, there are some matches that instead of having a goal spread of, let's just say, 1 goal or 1.5 goals, you might have a pick'em spread. So for those situations, you would get your money back if you tie, but you also would have the ability to win if they win. So that is available in some specific circumstances. Not very common, because draw or win, you automatically win either. But either or, anyway, to touch upon this match in particular, I'm looking at the total here, and I actually like the over 2.5 at -128 on FanDuel. It's kind of conflicting because Bremen's not the greatest offensive team, but Frankfurt is one of the worst defensive teams in the entire league. And if you've looked at their numbers recently, 7 of the last 8 meetings between these teams have totaled at least 3 goals. And 12 of Frankfurt's last 13 games have gone over 3 goals, or have gone 3 goals or more. So Frankfurt can't stop anybody, and all of their games recently have basically gone over. So you take them and you take the recent results with Bremen in these matchups, it tends to total at least 3. I think you should see a 2-1 game, something along those lines. I think that it makes sense why this line is roughly -128 on FanDuel. Mostly in the 130s elsewhere, I expect this line to climb. I expect a lot of people to try to hammer the over here based on how Frankfurt's played lately. So for that reason, I'm a little bit concerned with Bremen's offense being able to score maybe 2 or more, but I expect both teams to score. and I think you should see a decent amount of goals. So for that reason, I'll lean to the over there.
Okay, let me ask you before we bring Valdis back. I see on the totals it has two numbers. It has 2.5 and it has 3. Again, for our novice soccer bettors, Scott, tell me exactly what that means.
So the way that I understand it is that it basically means if the line is available at 2.75, so to speak, instead of 2.5. Needless to say, that doesn't make a difference based on the fact that you can only score 1 goal at a time. But the point is that if you end up taking a bet like that, half of your bet would go to 2.5 and half of your bet would go to 3. And then that would basically be you taking 2 separate totals in the same match, half for this, half for this. Is that right, Valdis? Is that how that works?
It is, yeah. It's a bit complicated, but I would just go for one that is 2.5, 1.5. So you basically have 3 goals and up. Sometimes you get the odds up a little bit worse than they would be if you take both, for example. I would go just over 2.5 goals, and this one is a really good idea. Even if Werder have kept 3 clean sheets in a row for the first time in 6 years. At the moment, I don't see them keeping a clean sheet in this one, and obviously Frankfurt are not a team that's gonna keep a clean sheet against an informed team. So
okay,
yeah, but so 2.5 right. Over 2.5 goals. That's the one to go for.
And is that your favorite bet on this game? Is playing the total?
My favorite bet would be just to go with Werder Bremen to win plus 175.
Good price there.
I mean, the team is unbeaten against Frankfurt for 4 games, for 4 league games. They've won 2 of them, and there's been 2 draws. And Frankfurt doesn't play that well.
I'm shocked they beat Wolfsburg, yeah. If I'm being honest. I'm not really sure how they pulled that one out, but good for them. I didn't think they would beat Wolfsburg in that one, but I mean,
exactly. Yeah, that was a really, really big surprise. Then again, Wolfsburg haven't played that well. Well, they have played certain games really well, but have been too inconsistent. So for Wolfsburg, it's going to be a big problem to remain in top 6, in my opinion, at the end of the season.
Yeah, well,
they are 6th now, but
we might talk about Wolfsburg later on in the video, but I think I overreacted to their win over Schalke, and Schalke is awful. So I think that win doesn't really mean as much as it used to, because Schalke, ever since they came back from the layoff, looks like either the second worst team in the league behind Paderborn or maybe the worst team. They're pretty bad at this point. But,
all right. Very good. All right, so that takes care of the Wednesday game. Moving the schedule ahead, the next game is going to be on Friday, and that's going to be oh man.
Go ahead.
All right. That's going to be Freiburg versus Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Mönchengladbach, but
okay, all right.
Almost, yeah.
I'd call that a 6 on a scale of 10. We've got Borussia here as a small favorite, minus a half a goal at minus 130. That is juiced to them, of course. The total on this one, I've got it on my sheet. I've got it at 2.5, 3. Just the 2.5 is not available. I'll start with you, Scott. Scott, you got a feeling on this one?
Well, first of all, I think you gave it a 6 in the pronunciation because that's the amount of letters you got right. So I think we'll stick to that. But for this match, I had a way that I wanted to lean with it, but the only problem is that I didn't really see great odds for the ways that I was thinking about it. If you're new to German soccer, Borussia Mönchengladbach is known for being a very offensive team. They score a lot of goals, they'll concede a decent amount of goals, and they try to pretty much outscore you with offense all the time. They're not going to win games 1-0. They'll win games 3-2, 3-1, something like that. So I was
Bundesliga.
Yeah, so I was originally leaning to some form of the over or some type of team total on Borussia, but the only problem is that it seemed like, of course, odds makers aren't dumb, and they pretty much just heavily juice the over to pretty much all of Borussia's goal props. Plus, Freiburg has allowed a goal in 4 straight games. Gladbach has had both teams score in 8 of their last 9 games, and they've had over 2.5 in 6 of their last 7. If I had to lean anywhere, I would probably lean to the over. 2.5 is heavily juiced, though, so I don't really think there's much value there. Maybe over 3, but for the sake of the lines available, I mean, potentially, one thing I was looking at was Borussia first half and full time at roughly plus 200 if you wanted to go for a decent plus price. But for the most part, I didn't really see many great lines available. A plus 200 there, I don't think is that bad. But their defense could easily give up a goal in the first half, and you're looking at pretty much a 1-1 draw in the first. But Borussia should score within the first 45 minutes. So they should be in position to potentially have a lead there. So plus 200 would probably be my value play. Other than that, though, I'm going to pass.
All right. Valdis, you got something picked out on this one? What do you like?
A little bit different from my point of view. Well, Freiburg have played really well against Gladbach historically. Also, Freiburg's last 3 home games, during them, they have allowed just 1 goal per game in the last 3 home games. And against Mönchengladbach, Freiburg has won their last 3 meetings. And in the last 9 meetings, there's been 8 victories for Freiburg. Kind of between the 2 teams, yes, Borussia Mönchengladbach is the favorite. Absolutely, the team is trying to get into the top 4 until the end of finish in the top 4 this season. Freiburg is trying to get into the top 6. For me, this is going to be an interesting game. Over 2.5 goals. I would not predict in this one personally. I would go for a draw. I think that maybe Freiburg at the moment, even though their historic record against Gladbach is really good, at the moment Borussia Mönchengladbach plays inconsistently, but too well to lose against a team that it clearly is superior to, even though Freiburg would be not in the betting odds, obviously, but historically, Freiburg has a really, really good record against Gladbach. I would go for a draw, and I would also probably pick a correct score of 1-1, which goes at plus 495, simply because Freiburg has been quite good on own turf, allowing just 1 goal in each of its last 3 home games is pretty good.
Yeah.
Does that cover? Is that since the restart, Valdis? In other words, does that home record count in front?
That was also stretching back to just before the coronavirus break. So
the
Freiburg's been pretty good. Freiburg's been defensively a pretty good team. While obviously Mönchengladbach's goalie tops whole Bundesliga in saves, so obviously he sees a lot of shots on goal throughout the games. Defensively, the team is not the strongest one, but neither is Freiburg as like the strongest attacking team. I can see each team scoring a goal here and kind of keep it at that.
Okay.
Not the most popular of opinions, I know, but.
Well, on the plus side, I don't disagree with you. So,
yeah, I actually had a question for Valdis on that. So, definitely for value, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it seems like this match, there isn't really one surefire way to go at it. It seems like we're both taking value plays here because we just think that there's a decent shot at it. The question that I have, though, is that you were talking about how good Freiburg has been at home. I know since the restart, home teams in the Bundesliga have been pretty much awful. Do you think that is going to continue? Why do you think that is? It seems like all the home teams, from a betting perspective, have pretty much been terrible. And I don't know the exact record, but it's really bad.
Yeah. Obviously, the disadvantage of not having fans in the stadium gives, I would say, not a whole advantage to the visiting team, but it definitely cancels out the simple fear factor of the fans. So each team will travel to the noisiest place and will just feel, I wouldn't say at home, but will feel much more comfortable playing the other side. It would be almost like I wouldn't say like a training matchup, but it would not have that extra element of your the home fans urging the team on and intimidating the other team. Then again, if a team has performed well at home before, then I think these few games that they've already had on own turf should be enough to kind of get back psychologically in terms of not having the fans there. So I think it's going to catch up that teams that are in good form at the moment will kind of continue in the same vein and kind of try to get that out on the field. So we'll see. Okay. In this case, I would not cancel out Freiburg having at least a point in this game.
Okay, and let me ask you that. I know I know you referred to the top 4 and the top 6. I know those are important. Tell me exactly what that means to these teams that are striving to get to the top 4 and the top 6.
The top 4 teams all qualify for the Champions League next season.
Okay.
So this is like these are the 4 places that you obviously the winner gets the trophy, and the next 3 teams they want the Champions League.
Now, do they have a playoffs or anything, or is it just at the end of the season the top team that's your winner?
No, the top 4 teams go directly to Champions League next season.
Yeah, there's no bracket for the championship. You have some side tournaments domestically, which you can win other trophies. But for the sake,
you can. There's a cup, the German Cup, and but obviously, the top 4 finish means you qualify for the Champions League, which is the biggest European.
I got that. But like in America, we're used to after the season's over, then you have the playoffs to determine a champion.
Yeah, you don't have that. Yeah. It's just solely regular season. Whoever has the most points wins the trophy. Okay,
so that's what I was asking. There is no when the regular season's done, that's your winner.
Yes, even though Bayern usually wins with like a month to go, but yes.
Okay.
It looks like it's going to happen this season as well. The only playoff that, in Bundesliga terms, you have is the relegation playoff, because the bottom 3 teams are in the relegation zone. The 2 bottom teams get eliminated straight away. The team number 16, the third best worst team, it still gets to play a playoff to stay in Bundesliga for the next season with a third placed team from second Bundesliga. So the top 2 teams of Bundesliga 2 then go to Bundesliga the next season, while the third place team and the 16th place team of Bundesliga then play a 2-legged playoff to determine which one of those will either go to Bundesliga or in the other team's occasion stay in Bundesliga.
So the third worst team in Bundesliga 2 could move up to Bundesliga 1 if they win the 2-leg playoff.
If they win the 2-leg playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's exactly what happened with Union Berlin last season, which was an incredible story. So they basically won the playoff and are in the Bundesliga for the first time ever in their history. It's quite a story. Cool. Yeah, and it looks like they could actually remain in Bundesliga this season for the next season as well. So we'll see how that turns out.
Scott, do you wish we had relegation in some of our major professional sports?
Yeah, that would be really interesting.
I think it would help. I'll tell you that much. Yeah. I'm a fan of it, but it definitely makes the games more interesting, prevents teams from tanking, because if they tank, they could potentially get thrown out of the league. I know that it's very common in Europe. I know, for example, it applies to some basketball leagues. I'm pretty sure, I think Israel's league actually has a relegation zone for basketball as well. So it has been done in multiple sports. I don't know how exactly you go about doing it. You're going to send NFL teams to the Canadian Football League? No, probably not. But, I think it would definitely make things more entertaining for all the teams involved, because teams that are even awful still have something to play for. So I'm a fan of it, personally.
Yeah, it would be fun. Sorry, Marlins, you're going to have to play in the Pacific Coast League this year. They would probably have about the right amount of fans that they draw for AAA baseball down there in Miami. But yeah, I don't think with all the investments they have in the huge stadiums, it doesn't seem like a likely possibility here. It would be fun. Like you say, Scott, I don't know where you make them play. I guess you make your NFL team play in the SEC, maybe.
Bring up then Bama would just be in the NFL, and you'd have to worry about all that stuff.
All right, so that covers Wednesday, Friday action. Of course, in the Bundesliga, Saturday is the big day. That's Saturday and Sunday are a fair amount of games. I'm not going to take the time to cover each and every game, but I want you guys each to talk about the highlights that you think the best plays on Saturday are, the things that stick out to you. Valdis, looking at Saturday's schedule, what catches your eye?
Yeah, let's see. Kind of wrote everything. Well, let's see. Like we have Leipzig, Paderborn. That's pretty much Leipzig's gonna win that one. They have to win it because Leipzig still is playing for top 4, and I think the race to win the league is over. Bayern Munich beat Borussia Dortmund 1-0. That was, I think, the most crucial point in the title race this season. They are 7 points clear at the top. They're not gonna drop any points, in my opinion, in the next 5 games. I think they stand a good chance of winning all 5 of them, or at least drawing against, if I'm not mistaken, Mönchengladbach and Leverkusen. I think they face those 2 teams as well. In that sense, Leipzig have a really good opportunity to finish second. Not that that's going to matter in the big picture, but obviously with 4 teams battling for the top 4 finish, and we didn't mention that, like 5th place and 6th place still qualify for European football, for Europa League. But obviously, if you have a chance of qualifying 4th rather than 5th, finishing the season and going to Champions League or Europa League, everyone knows which competition they would choose. Obviously, Champions League is a much more prestigious competition to end up. So for Leipzig,
but we were talking about this the other day. Just to interrupt real quick, is the Champions League is that Europe only?
That's Europe only. That's the biggest European club championship.
Where it has like, Premier League and La Liga and Serie A and all that.
The top teams from there also go to the Champions League. The way that I would describe it, Scott, to make it, I'd say, more compatible, picture the Champions League is the Cup Series in NASCAR, and the Xfinity Series is the Europa League. So the people who aren't good enough to actually be in the Cup Series on a regular basis are in the Xfinity Series. Those are the Europa teams. The Europa teams are the teams that aren't good enough to make it to Champions League, but they're good enough to still compete at a European level.
So the top 4 don't play in both. You only play
in one of the 2. You only play in
5 and 6, you play Europa. Your top 4, you play Champions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. Now this is, you look at the game there, Valdis. Is Paderborn? Are they really awful? Are they?
I'll tell you honestly, Paderborn are dead last in the league, but they are probably the best team that's going to be eliminated for sure. But the best team that has been in Bundesliga for ages. They have been really fun to watch, and they've been a pretty decent team, but they just are playing against much stronger opposition. I like that they have gone out not with a view to remain in the league. They are going out to enjoy their only season in the Bundesliga. That's their mindset, and it's been pretty good soccer so far. Obviously, the results don't show that, but they've won only 4 games but drawn 7. And out of the last few games they've played, let me see. They had some draws as well lined up. I think 3. They drew 3 games before being thrashed 6-1 by Borussia Dortmund just 2 days ago.
Okay.
So that's pretty good, but not good enough. But the thing is that the team knows that it's not good enough, but it kind of doesn't show it. I like that about them.
Now the spread on this one is monstrous for a soccer team. It is 2.5.
There is no way you want to go just for Leipzig to win. They're gonna win it, but like it's. I don't even think there's gonna be any miracles in this case. I think much better bet to go for is clean sheet for Leipzig. I've checked; it's plus 100. Paderborn have been a team that has scored goals throughout the season. Obviously, not a lot, but they still have managed 32 goals, and they can score against bigger opposition. Obviously, they finished their last game where Dortmund scored 6, they did score a consolation goal. And actually one that was a pretty good goal as well. So
what's a consolation goal?
You're going to lose the game, but you score for fun.
You score one goal.
Okay.
You get a fake trophy when you're in the middle of getting destroyed. You got a bright moment.
Nice.
Yeah, it was just, it's.
Yeah.
Okay. So what play do you like from that game, Valdis?
Clean sheet for Leipzig. I think Paderborn will be held without scoring a goal. Leipzig have had some really bad results lately. Not bad per se, but they have drawn 6 of the last 10 games and winning just 4 of them. They have not lost a game on the last 10 attempts. But imagine if they would have won instead of drawing those 6 games, they would have be above Bayern Munich now. So for Leipzig, it's a run that has been good, but not good enough, and they know that. And I think against the bottom team, they were going to be all guns blazing. So a clean sheet, I think they're going to be defensively solid against a team that they know that could hurt them. So because obviously the previous game they had, it finished with a score of 3-2 to Leipzig. So Leipzig did allow 2 goals, but I think in this case, in Leipzig, it's not going to be as easy. So a clean sheet for Leipzig plus 100 is a good bet. Also, a correct score of Leipzig winning 5-0, and the correct score bet 5-0 to Leipzig is at plus 1,320. That's an amazing bet. That's a bet I'm going to take.
Okay.
Because Leipzig could easily score 5 goals without conceding none in a game against the bottom team, which obviously doesn't have anything else to play for. It's not gonna. Paderborn is not even in the race to remain in Bundesliga. Everyone knows that team is going.
Right.
It's the last. It's for sure. So correct score 5-0 is probably the best bet of the. If it goes through, it's the best paid bet you can put this weekend, which is quite realistic. But also you could do something with anytime goal scorers. Obviously, if the prediction of Leipzig to go all guns blazing and scoring quite a few goals, which I think is going to happen. Timo Werner and Patrick Schick are 2 names to consider for anytime goal scorers. I think the bets, the odds for them are not out yet, but
Werner's was huge. I looked into Werner's. Werner's was like minus 260. He's very up there to score anytime, but that makes sense because he scores almost every game. So
minus 260 to score a goal, really?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
Werner is the guy. He's basically in terms of efficiency, he's kind of like Haaland from Borussia Dortmund, where it seems like they score pretty much every game they play in. And Leipzig scores a lot of goals, and he's the number 1 goal scorer on the team. So it's kind of a perfect match.
All right, very good. Couple good plays.
Sorry. With that in mind, just to say, Timo Werner now, when Patrick Schick is playing a Czech forward, Patrick Schick has scored already 9 goals in, I don't know, like 12 games he's played since the arrival in January. When Schick is playing, Werner drops back a little bit. So for Schick to spearhead the attack, it's a really good, also a bet to pick Patrick Schick for anytime goal scorer for Leipzig now. While he's been playing in the face of the attack, Werner has been scoring less. So obviously the production goes more to Schick now. So it's something to consider. Maybe
a little bit of value there on Schick.
Definitely much more value than on Timo Werner, because Timo Werner is second in the Bundesliga in scoring. He's scored like 25 goals already this season. So Schick is a better, more valuable bet to consider.
Excellent.
Against Paderborn, for sure. It's like a no-brainer.
Okay, very good. All right, Scott, what else what do you have your eye on there for Saturday's games?
Well, I was also looking at the Leipzig game, but I found it very tough to find pure value on it because Leipzig, who I think is going to win by a wide margin, they're overwhelming favorites to win by a large margin. And it makes sense after Paderborn not only lost to Borussia Dortmund, but they gave up 6 goals in the second half. So that's not exactly great form to enter a game where you go from tying a couple of times to giving up 1 goal to giving up 6 goals against a superior team, and it makes a lot of sense. For value here, well, first of all, just to touch upon the player prop for Werner, DraftKings actually has it available. Werner to score any time is minus 265. So, yeah, he's definitely expected to score.
You have a Schick number?
Schick to score is anytime is minus 132. So that definitely is a much better price, but they're both expected to score in this game. For value, my pure value play alone is a dangerous play, but I might put a sprinkle on it. It's a penalty to be awarded to Leipzig at plus 225. And I know that it's very tough to actually gamble on penalties. I mean, we're basically predicting 4 or 5 goals. So if you have a shot to get a lot of opportunities in the box, Paderborn's going to be scattered defensively. I expect Leipzig, who loves to either counterattack or to just go all out with their forwards. I wouldn't be surprised to see a last man standing type of tackle in the box there. Plus, you have a handball situation, a lot of stuff like that. So if Leipzig's going to score roughly 4 or 5 goals, which is what Valdis and I think is going to happen, I think a penalty being awarded at plus 225 is pretty good value. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that match. Is it a strong play? No. But I think you can agree, Valdis, maybe you don't like to gamble and that kind of stuff. If you're going to get 4 or 5 goals with a ton of scoring chances with probably around, 9 shots on net, 20-something shot attempts, you might get a penalty in the box.
You could, yeah. That's bets like that probably in games where you don't get much value from anything else. This is what you go for. Also, bets like red cards, for example. In fact, there is one game with red cards that I would like to point out.
Sure.
That one of the games, it's on Saturday. Eintracht Frankfurt, our favorite team, against Mainz. In the last 22 meetings between both teams, there have been 10 red cards. So that's quite a lot. That is quite a substantial amount of of sendings off. So I think
you know what the price is on that?
Around plus 350. Normally a red card goes plus 350. Pretty decent.
Considering the fact that you get a red card roughly in half of the last 22 meetings, that definitely sounds like that should be in the plus 200 range. Yeah. So yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Good value.
I mean, I was looking at some other games as well, but that Leipzig one, that penalty prop did look in my eye just for value because I do think there will be a lot of chances. Other than that, though, there is one primetime matchup, so to speak. It's going to be at the same time as the other ones, but there's one match between 2 pretty solid opponents, and it will be between Bayern and Bayer Leverkusen. And for that match, for me personally, I expect goals, and I expect a lot of goals in that matchup just based on the way that the 2 teams play. So I like Bayern to win and both teams to score, and that's available at plus 140 on Fox Bet. Main reason why, both teams have scored in each of the last 6 meetings. Bayern has won 10 straight games. They're on fire. They beat Fortuna last week, but Fortuna stinks, and Bayern completely dismantled them. I believe Fortuna closed 36-1 on the money line, just to show how much Bayern was favored in that game. And both teams have also scored in 4 of Leverkusen's last 5 games. I know that Leverkusen have played Bayern well over the last couple of meetings, but if you just look historically, both teams tend to score, and Bayern is clearly the best team in the league by a wide margin. Bayern will go into this game most likely score 2, 3, or even 4 goals, and I think Leverkusen should be able to score 1. So for that reason, Bayern to win and both teams to score plus 140 seems like pretty solid value. You have a thought on that, Valdis?
I think it's a good idea. I don't think Bayern will score a lot, though, against Bayer. Bayer have been historically, as you also mentioned, been historically pretty solid against the team from Munich.
Yeah, when I say a lot, I mean usually around 2 or more, give or take.
Around 2 or more. With that in mind, I would probably go for a correct score of 2-1 for Bayern, which is at plus 765. A 2-1 win for Bayern Munich, not the worst of ideas, considering that Actually, Leverkusen have won
They won
the
each
last 3 Bundesliga games against them. So I think it could be that Bayer will be quite solid against the reigning champions.
Okay. All right.
They will lose, but 2-1 is a pretty good bet.
All right. All right. Valdis, what else? Anything else there from Saturday get your attention?
Well, what else do we have from Saturday? Well, Eintracht Frankfurt Mainz. In this case, obviously both teams are kind of in the bottom half of.
They're not great. they're not great. Yeah.
Yeah. In other words, they're not great, especially Mainz, who are struggling absolutely tremendously at the moment. Also, some of their best players have been injured, so they have not been really have not returned to action in the most compact of forms. For that, I feel like even though Mainz have actually beaten Frankfurt in the last 2 meetings between the two teams, I think Frankfurt's gonna snatch a win here because Frankfurt need to win as well, and we don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. I mean, tomorrow is a really crucial game for Frankfurt as well. So if they drop points tomorrow, they need a win here. Frankfurt to win outright minus 105, not the worst of bets in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, these are the two teams that are just kind of right on the edge of possible relegation, as Mainz is 15th out of 18 teams, and Frankfurt is just a few spots ahead of them, but very close in the points. They've got 32 points while Mainz has 28. So as we close in here on the end of the season, really, if something goes wrong for one of these teams and goes right for the other, it could totally switch, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So both need a win, but Mainz just doesn't seem to be able to get anything together at the moment. So it's going to be quite a struggle for Mainz in the next 5 games until the end of the season.
Yeah, and it looks like they have just looking at their stats here. It looks like they play terrible defense.
Yeah.
If I'm reading this right, they've basically given up more goals than anyone else in the Bundesliga.
Yes, it's 62 goals already. But also they are not scoring a lot, so it's also both sides of the pitch are just terrible. Not a good moment for Mainz at all.
I'm no expert on soccer, but if you're giving up a lot of goals and not scoring many, that's probably not good.
You're doomed. You are doomed, and for Mainz, it's going to be a struggle to keep. They are just 1 point above the bottom 3.
Right.
I think they're going to go down. It's with Werder Bremen now performing quite well, and Mainz has pretty bad. The prediction for them, the teams that they're going to be facing, are not some that they're going to be comfortable with.
Yeah.
They're Dortmund and Bayer Leverkusen and Werder Bremen. It's not going to be pretty sight for Mainz.
What does the 05 mean on their name?
The 05ers, that's what they call them. What does it mean? I'm not really.
Just part of their name.
That's part of the name historically.
2005 was a big year for them. They just decided to keep it. No, I don't know. But
do you know, smart guy?
No. If I had to guess, maybe I don't know how long they've been around. I'd have to assume something was founded in 05. Whether it was 1905 or 2005, something probably happened in the year 05.
1905.
Yes, they've been around since 1905. I assumed as much, and that worked itself out. So, yeah. But that was an educated guess. But looking at the rest of Saturday's card, there's one other match I want to talk about. This one is the same prop that I gave out for the Bayern game. It's a little bit more dangerous, but it is in the Borussia Dortmund game as they take on Hertha BSC. I like Borussia to win and both teams to score at plus 145 on Fox Bet. Main reason why, head-to-head, they've had more than 2.5 goals in 5 of their last 7 games. Both teams have scored in 7 of the last 8 meetings. Meanwhile, Borussia hasn't lost in each of the last 5. They've given up a goal in each of the last 4. and Hertha BSC has given up a goal to Borussia in each of the last 9 meetings. There's going to be a ton of goals. Now, the question that you have is if Haaland is going to be playing for Borussia, because he is by far their best goal scorer, but Sancho, without him, scored a hat-trick anyway, and they scored 6 goals in the second half against Paderborn. So they should be able to score at least 2 goals, probably more. And I think that if Borussia gave up 1 consolation goal to Paderborn, they'll give up 1 to Hertha here. So for me, I think this game will probably finish 3-1, 2-1, something like that. I think.
What's the price you've got on both teams to score, Scott?
So both teams to score was a decent minus. I believe that was roughly minus 160. But if you take Dortmund to win and both teams to score, kind of a combo deal, you can get plus 145. Borussia is still competing with Leipzig and all these other teams to stay in the top 4. They're going to finish top 4, but they're still hypothetically in contention for it. So it's still an important game. Borussia's not going to overlook any opponent on the schedule anytime soon, especially with Leipzig playing Paderborn, which is basically a free win. So for that reason, I think Borussia should score a lot of goals, and I think that Hertha should score at least 1. But I would probably wait to see if Haaland is going to be playing in this game, because he's basically guaranteed to score pretty much every game he plays in. But even if he doesn't, you still have Hazard, you still have Sancho, they'll score. So for me, I think both teams should score, and I think Borussia will win.
Valdis, you like that play?
Yeah, Sancho scored as well in the against Paderborn just now in the 6-1 thrashing.
Mm-hmm.
For me, though, in this particular game, I would go for Hertha Berlin double chance for Hertha either to win or squeeze out a draw. And why? Hertha Berlin has been playing amazing soccer since the arrival of their current new manager, Bruno Labbadia. They have won 3 games and drawn 1, so it's been an unbeaten run, and it has lifted not only the spirits of the fans, but also the team seems to be playing completely different type of play compared to what they were doing before the break. Also, interestingly, Hertha Berlin, while visiting Dortmund, have actually squeezed out 3 draws on their last 4 trips. So that's quite an interesting angle in this matchup. For me, Hertha Berlin double chance. Berlin win or a draw is at plus 155. So that's pretty good value there.
And
so I would go for that. I think a draw can be squeezed out, and you never know. Hertha Berlin can be like a dark horse in this particular matchup.
Well, I was going to ask you, so what is the regular draw price, not with the win draw?
Just a regular draw.
Just a regular draw.
It depends on obviously what if the team that is the clear favorite, if the odds, for example, are much higher. And they are not even for both teams. Then, for example, a draw in this matchup is plus 440.
Yeah. So my question
it's pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like if you were going to potentially take one of those angles against Borussia, I feel like you should just take the draw just straight up for plus 4 something. Because for me, I know that, as you just said, Berlin's been playing a lot better lately. I still like Borussia because I don't think Berlin has the talent to match up with all the firepower that Borussia has, assuming that everyone's pretty much healthy. But I think with you just said all the draws in place, Berlin could pull off a shocker here and win. I think that the value of 4-1, even higher, you should probably just take the draw straight up. But that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, the draw in this one is really tempting, obviously, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Double chance is good, but draw would be good.
All right, very good. Valdis, anything else? Expanding out to Sunday, anything left over from Saturday or anything from Sunday really gets you excited?
Well, what do we have on Saturday? Still, we have Fortuna Düsseldorf against Hoffenheim. 2 teams also both trying to. Hoffenheim are trying to get into the top 6. Obviously, as it stands, and they are on level points with the 6th placed Wolfsburg.
Hoffenheim should win that game. Fortuna is not good at all. But
I actually don't have a line on that game. I've got 3 games, but I don't have them.
It's not the most attractive matchup in the world, but Fortuna
not
is
at all.
definitely way below Hoffenheim in the standings. So,
Interestingly, though, in the last 5 games, both sides have snatched a home win, but the other 3 have finished with 1-1 draws.
yeah, well, the
So-
odds are pretty close in terms of both teams on money lines, et cetera. So
Yeah.
there's no prohibitive favorite in this matchup, which is
Yeah.
why I personally passed on it. If you want to take a flyer, maybe you could look for a double chance there with Fortuna, but I'm not really.
Or just simply go for a draw, which is plus 250.
Yeah.
Or correct score of 1-1 plus 530.
Mhm.
Not the worst of.
Yeah,
things to go
I
for.
saw that matchup and I just immediately glossed over it. I just wasn't really that interested in it. But yeah, when you're talking about a potential 1-1 draw, I could definitely see that being a potential result. The Frankfurt match versus Mainz, I was looking into that. I thought about potentially doing something, but in reality, I kind of wanted to wait until Frankfurt played their game in the middle of the week before deciding. Valdis already touched upon it. If they lose the game, it's tomorrow, right? They
Tomorrow,
play.
yeah.
Yeah, if you lose tomorrow, I think they're going to win Saturday. So I feel like sometimes it's better to wait it out, see what the current form is on the team. Plus, you might get an injury, and that'll change some type of stuff. So I'm waiting on the Frankfurt game. If I had to lean anywhere, I probably went to Frankfurt in that matchup as well, potentially with some goals. I definitely like that red card play that you mentioned before, but I'm going to pass until I actually see them play tomorrow. So that's my thoughts on Frankfurt.
All right.
Talking about red cards, by the way, there's another red card bonanza, so to speak. Augsburg Cologne, which is on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, one of Sunday's games.
Right.
Interestingly, in the last 4 encounters between both sides, there's been 4 red cards. That's like 1 per game on average. So a red card for around plus 350 is a pretty good bet for.
I'm assuming that there are probably some outliers because I'm sure some of the players on both teams were pretty much just shoving each other in like the 95th minute probably at some point. But yes, there tends to be some bad blood between some of these teams in the league, and I think that tempers could be flying high at some point in this game if you get a relatively cheap tackle, which might lead to a brief altercation or not. So I think that definitely makes sense.
All right.
So that's Augsburg Cologne. Also, maybe Augsburg Cologne. Another draw is not unlikely in this matchup. Both teams are only 3 points apart from each other. Cologne's 11th with 34 points, and Augsburg's 13th, 31 points. And Augsburg obviously is just 4 points above the bottom 3, so they kind of need a result here. The last 2 games have been 1-1 draws, and 4 of the past 6 have also finished as a draw between the 2. So it's not a bad bet. Plus 245. Cologne, Augsburg, a draw.
2 evenly matched teams. All right, very good. Scott, before we get out of here, anything else catching your eye?
I have one thing that's catching my mind for all of the reasons why you shouldn't bet this matchup, and it's between Union Berlin and Schalke. Don't do it. You could make an argument maybe for a total here. Both teams are in such terrible form. Don't burn your money. It's just not worth it. Schalke used to be really good. They came back from break and they pretty much forgot how to play soccer. And Berlin is fighting with potential relegation, so they haven't been playing well either. To put into perspective, Berlin haven't won in any of their last 7 games, and Schalke has lost each of their last 4 and have not won any of their last 10 matchups. So one team hasn't won each of their last 7, the other team hasn't won each of their last 10. I'm going to pass, and I'm going to stay away from that game as much as possible. That's my advice for you. You have any thoughts on that?
Load up on that one. Is what
If I was forced
Yeah.
bet on this one. I would probably go with Union Berlin. They play at home, and they have looked much better. They have had obviously not results that they are happy with at the moment. That especially the last ones that they have. 6 of the last 7 games have finished with defeats. There's just 1 point collected in the last 7 games. Playing against such a terrible Schalke team, though, I give Union Berlin all confidence as much as I can for them to snatch a win here, especially at home, and at plus 145. It's not a bad bet.
Yeah, that's what I was looking.
Schalke is not going to do it. Yeah. I doubt that Schalke is going to be able to do anything here.
I was looking at it also. If I had to play anything, I would probably play that. But in reality, Schalke probably should have fired their manager already. This team has no idea what they're doing at this point. And it seemed like they just completely waved the flag on the season. There's really no motivation. Berlin, as I was saying, Berlin does still have something to play for. Schalke, despite being awful, is still 10th in the standings. They're not going to get relegated. They're fine. Berlin is still only 4 points clear of that third relegation spot. They definitely have a lot to play for in comparison to Schalke. I just don't trust either team. But based on how Schalke's played over the last couple of weeks, if I had to lean anywhere, I'd lean to Berlin. I wouldn't touch that game at all. Both teams do not exactly inspire confidence in me. So I'm going to pass.
All right. Very good. Very good. Valdis, any final play that you've got from the weekend?
Well, from the weekend, I think it's pretty much that. Or we could, let me see that's pretty much that. We could.
All right. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I know you've got to be excited. You've got the Bundesliga back. You've got the Premier League is coming back, and you have La Liga is coming back there in Spain. Does Mallorca have a top division team there, Valdis?
Yes, they do, and they are playing Barcelona in Mallorca on the 11th of June. So a big game for Mallorca. A double chance is probably one that everyone should consider for that, because we don't know how Barcelona is going to look like after the break.
Right.
Barcelona did lose one of its last 2 games, and Mallorca has been quite okay recently, losing just one of the last 4, winning 2 of them. So 2 wins, 1 draw, and a defeat. They still have lost the most of the games in the league, 16, even worse than Espanyol, which sits at the bottom of the table. So Mallorca needs to collect points as soon as possible, because the team is playing with the relegation at the moment, sitting 18th.
I almost forgot the times that we live in for a second, and was going to ask you if you're going to go to the game, but
I wish.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, maybe next year.
Next year, hopefully.
We definitely appreciate you stopping by. We would like to make this a regular thing here as the European soccer gets heated up. I know you follow all of those leagues, and I think this is the closest thing to like that's not table tennis or NASCAR. Things that people are used to betting on. So I think we've got some valuable information. We'd love to have you back on again if you're not too busy at the beach or brunching or having a beer, buddy. So
I can do everything at once.
Excellent. Multitasker. Scott, you got anything else before we get out of here?
No. It was nice to break down some soccer. I used to dabble a lot more in soccer than I used to, but yeah, it's nice that you still get some form of a sport with a ball that doesn't involve waking up at 4 a.m. to watch Korean baseball.
Baseball, that's right.
It's definitely a nice change of pace here. So used to looking at either stock cars or octagon fights for the last couple of weeks. It's nice to actually see some of the sports start to open up again. And even though it's not domestically for us being in America, it's still definitely a nice sight to see at least some semblance of normal sports start back up again, which is a good omen for local sports in the future. So it's a good sign of things to come.
I agree. I totally agree. All right, gentlemen. Well, it's been a lot of fun. I know that I've learned a lot. I always
pronunciation game definitely improved during the course of this video.
Struggle. That was listening to you guys go through the names definitely helped me on my pronunciation game as well. So very well done, boys. I appreciate it. And we appreciate, as always, you guys stopping by to check us out. We couldn't do it without you. Otherwise, we'd just be three dudes sitting around talking about sports. So it's all about you. It's all about the fans. We appreciate you checking us out. Don't forget to drop us a comment. Let us know if you're excited about the Bundesliga coming back, or if you're a soccer fan, if you're going to make some soccer plays. Just let us know you're out there. Let us know that you're still breathing. We like to hear from each and every one of our fans, of course. And of course, don't forget to stop by and check out winnersandwhiners.com on a daily basis, where great writers like Scott and Valdis are putting out, just churning out the content over there, as far as like handicapping the various sports that are still going on. So make sure you check out winnersandwhiners.com, our sister site over there at statsalt.com as well. And for all of us over here at Winners and Whiners, I'm Scott Steen. He is Scott Reichel from Mallorca, Spain. He is Valdis Pans. We appreciate you guys being here. Stop by and check us out tomorrow. We're going to be talking a little esports with a Winning Willie. The esports season is getting heated up, and there are some great opportunities to make some money. Don't understand esports? Don't care about esports? You know what? You can bet on it. You can make money. Come back tomorrow. We'll show you how to do it. All right? You guys take care. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.